So you will have the opportunity to make comments on the CEQA document that we're here to discuss tonight. We request that comments be formally submitted in writing. The information is up here on the screen and we will repeat it. Emails must be received by April 25th, 2024. And mail must be postmarked by April 25th as well. If you're joining virtually or in person tonight, you will have the opportunity to ask clarifying questions at the end of the presentation. Now I'll turn it over to Jason Patchen from the Port of Stockton to go over the agenda.
Good afternoon, everybody. In this meeting, we'll present an overview of the CEQA process, describe the construction and operational elements of the proposed project, and summarize the ISMND findings. We will also outline how to submit comments on the ISMND. First, we'll provide an overview of the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA process. The CEQA process mandates that government agencies inform decision makers and the public about the potential environmental impacts of proposed projects. The applicant for this project is BayoTech. They are going to lease property from the Port of Stockton. The port is conducting the environmental analysis as well as developing strategies to avoid and minimize the impacts. Public participation is an important process of the CEQA process. We are holding this meeting to inform you about the project and to ask your input on the environmental document. What is an ISMND? The IS, which stands for Initial Study, presents the environmental analysis. The MND, which stands for Mitigated Negative Declaration, states that revisions in the project will avoid all potential significant adverse impacts. In the case of the BayoTech project, an ISMND was prepared because the project would have significant impacts without mitigation. On May 20th, 2023, the port requested public review and feedback on the proposed project. That review period ended on June 29th, 2023, and we are still in that stage right now. We're in that stage right now because we are recirculating the document, and we will explain later why. Next. Based on new information that resulted in changes to the project description, and it was essentially an error in the electrical demand, the port decided to recirculate the draft ISMND. We will summarize these changes later in the presentation. The recirculated draft ISMND also includes responses to comments that were received during that initial public comment period from May to June of 2023. The public review period for the recirculated ISMND is March 27th to April 25th, 2024. And now I will turn this back over to Kara Durst from Anchor QA to provide an overview of the proposed project.
Thanks, Jason. So the port, as Jason said, would issue a new lease to BayoTech for a 5-acre parcel that is currently vacant and zoned for industrial use. The proposed project involves development and operation of a hydrogen production and filling facility at the port. BayoTech would operate the hydrogen production and filling facility to produce and distribute hydrogen to customers throughout the region. Hydrogen would be produced using BayoTech's H2-1000 hydrogen generation system through a process that extracts hydrogen from natural gas using steam methane reforming, or SMR. Next slide.
Okay.
The objective of the proposed project is to develop, build, and operate a hydrogen production plant and filling facility using modular production technology to address growing demands for hydrogen fuel in the region and in the state. The hydrogen would be used in passenger and heavy vehicle transportation, stationary and mobile fuel cell power applications within the port, and stationary and mobile fuel cell power applications for commercial and industrial customers. Small and local hydrogen production, similar to the proposed project, addresses the need for hydrogen to fuel the growing zero-emission fleets in California by reducing transportation costs and emissions associated with importing hydrogen from larger, more distant providers. With its hydrogen production plant, BayoTech would produce hydrogen for customers and contribute to energy security in the region. The expansion of hydrogen as a transportation fuel has also been supported by the California Air Resources Board's most recent Advanced Clean Cars program and the Low Carbon Fuel Standard. In addition, the proposed project would have local economic benefits for the community. Next slide. As you can see here, the proposed project would be located within the yellow boundary on the port's east complex. Next slide. Here's a close-up of the project site. This is an aerial view of the project site from April 2022. Primary access to the site is at the intersection of Navy Drive and West Washington Street via Forestal Village Road. Immediately south of the site is Pelican Renewables Energy, and the San Joaquin River is located to the east of the site. As you can see, the 5-acre site is currently vacant and covered in graded soil. There are no structures on the project site and no industrial, commercial, or other uses occur under existing conditions at the project site. It would be graded with asphalt paving, concrete, and crushed gravel, and would be fenced around the perimeter. Next slide. The project will include construction of the following elements: 2 hydrogen generation systems and compressors, 8 storage pods. New utility connections would be installed at the facility, including electrical, water, sanitary, and natural gas, which would require trenching. New water service for the site would be connected from the water main located on Navy Drive. Water use associated with the proposed project is expected for domestic services, operational systems, and fire lines for fire hydrants. 2 on-site fire hydrants would be added, as well as 5 new fire hydrants along the existing access road and rail spur. Sanitary sewer and gas service would be routed to a new connection along Navy Drive. BayoTech would also construct a new 1,100 square foot building to be used as an operations center located just outside of the hydrogen production and filling facility's wall. The operations center would be used as an office for facility staff, and 6 employee parking spaces would be constructed adjacent to the building. Next slide. Construction activities would include excavating, grading, paving, constructing slabs on grade, and installing equipment, lighting, and utility connections. Construction equipment would include rubber tire dozers, tractors, loaders, backhoes, excavators, graders, scrapers, cranes, forklifts, generators, welders, air compressors, and paving equipment. Construction of the proposed project is anticipated to commence in summer 2024 and be completed in fall of 2024. The anticipated total construction duration is approximately 4 months, sequenced over several phases. Next slide. The terminal is expected to operate 24 hours per day, 7 days per week, 350 days per year. Hydrogen would be produced through a process that extracts hydrogen from natural gas using steam. Natural gas would be provided from local providers, including Pacific Gas and Electric, by connecting to existing port power infrastructure. The hydrogen would then be compressed and stored in storage pods and dispensed to transport trailers for distribution to customers in the area. Up to 2,000 kilograms of hydrogen would be stored on site in fixed storage containers. On site, BayoTech tube trailers with the cylinders for transport may also be used to contain and store hydrogen awaiting delivery to customers. Next slide. Now we'll discuss some of the changes to the draft ISM&D. The recirculated document includes call-out boxes where new information was added. It's important to note that these revisions do not result in any new significant environmental impacts. The biggest change in the document was related to the maximum daily and annual electricity requirements, which were erroneously reported in the project description and energy sections of the draft ISM&D. The electricity requirements are consistent with the maximum used in Table 12 in Section 3.3.8, greenhouse gas emissions, and Appendix C, the air quality results and assumptions of the recirculated ISM&D. The recirculated ISM&D clarifies and provides more detailed information related to on-site staff presence. An operations technician, drivers, field technicians, and a hub operations manager would be present on site during operation to ensure that production, storage, filling, and deliveries are conducted in the safest manner possible. The recirculated draft ISM&D also provides an expanded discussion related to the facility's emergency procedures. The global warming potential of CH4 and N2O were incorrect in the draft ISM&D and have been revised. Additional information related to potential for hydrogen leaks and BayoTech's system to control leaks was added. The document also addresses the potential for hydrogen to act as an indirect greenhouse gas. The project description has been updated to include truck travel information consistent with the information in Appendix C, the air quality results and assumptions. Since the release of the draft ISM&D, BayoTech has entered into a commercial agreement to use zero-emission trucks to transport hydrogen. Mitigation measure ENG1 was modified to require the use of zero-emission trucks for at least 50% of all truck trips. In addition, the mitigation measure listed here were updated to include additional provisions for compliance related to light and glare, energy usage, and increase the amount of renewable natural gas required. Finally, a community benefits agreement, or CBA, was discussed by BayoTech at several community meetings after the release of the 2023 draft ISM&D and is currently being negotiated by BayoTech and the local community groups. Implementation of a commercially reasonable CBA by BayoTech with local community groups will be a requirement of the port's lease. Next slide. Now we will overview the findings of the recirculated draft ISM&D. As the basis for the environmental analysis, the port uses Appendix G of the CEQA guidelines to analyze potential project impacts. Impacts are analyzed against a baseline condition, which is basically the state of current conditions at the site. For this project, the baseline is the vacant lot with no operations. 20 resource areas were analyzed. The port identified that most resource areas would have no or less than significant impacts. The topics that show no impacts as a result of the proposed project are shown on the right. Agriculture and forestry resources, land use and planning, mineral resources, population and housing, public services, recreation, and wildfire. Where impacts are found to be potentially significant, the port proposed mitigation measures to minimize impacts to the environment, and then analyzed impacts assuming implementation of these measures. Less than significant impacts include the following resource areas: air quality, cultural resources, energy, geology and soils, noise, tribal cultural resources, and utilities and service systems. For several resource areas, environmental impacts were found to be potentially significant. However, with implementation of mitigation measures, impacts were reduced to a less than significant level. Less than significant impacts after mitigation include the following resource areas: aesthetics, biological resources, greenhouse gas emissions, hazards and hazardous materials, hydrology and water quality, and transportation. The mitigation measures that are included in the recirculated draft ISM&D are listed here. And they include the use of full cutoff light shields and/or anti-glare lighting, stormwater management controls. For example, this includes use of storm drain inlet filters, erosion controls, and maintenance of spill control kits during construction to control or respond to spills or other potential sources of construction-related pollution. A soil management plan, which includes plans for leak prevention, control, and management. The project would obtain coverage under the San Joaquin County Multi-Species Habitat Conservation and Open Space Plan. BayoTech will require trucks to minimize idling time to 2 minutes where available while on the terminal. Where possible, BayoTech will encourage the use of clean trucks defined as model year 2017 or newer to transport fuel. Within 3 months of project approval, BayoTech will conduct an energy audit to determine if there are additional energy saving features that can be implemented as part of construction and operations. Over time, the project is anticipated to transition from natural gas to renewable natural gas. And finally, off-site truck transportation of hydrogen fuel would use the roadways designated by the port for truck transport. These roads do not pass by George Washington Elementary School. Next slide. As mentioned previously, we are currently in the public review phase for the draft ISM&D. The recirculated draft ISM&D was published on March 27th, 2024. And March 27th, and comments are accepted until April 25th, 2024. The final ISM&D is anticipated in the spring of 2024. And construction is expected to start in the summer of 2024. Next slide. The recirculated draft document is available for your review on the port's website, which is linked on this slide. If you are not able to access the document online, you can also arrange to review a copy from the port by contacting Jason Cashman through the email or phone number shown on your screen. Next slide. So to reiterate, if you would like to submit a formal comment during the comment period, the instructions are here on the screen. They're also available on the port's website. If you're in person tonight, we do have paper comment forms for you to provide a formal comment in writing. In a moment, we will open it up for both virtual and in-person participants to ask clarifying questions. And now I will turn it over to Katie Chamberlain from InterQEA.
Thanks, Kara. Are there any comments or questions from the folks in the room?
Not sure. So it's comments. So my name is Tim Robertson. I'm Executive Director of the San Joaquin Building Trades Council. I just want to thank everyone for being here tonight and participating, all the hard work that's gone into this process. Just want to acknowledge all of the union members that are in the room tonight in support of this project, representing the electrical workers, the sheet metal workers, the United Association of Plumbers and Pipe Fitters, the operating engineers, which are among the 19 affiliates that comprise the San Joaquin Building Trades Council. So we are representing 12,000 local construction workers here in San Joaquin County and surrounding areas, and standing to share our broad support for this project. We are excited that entering this process, BayoTech began voluntarily negotiating and entered into a project labor agreement with our council, which means that the workers, they will be employing primarily a local workforce of skilled, trained union members coming from here in Stockton and in San Joaquin County largely, and also the most trained and best construction workers we have out there to have the safest project on a great timeline. Beyond that, this allows us, in addition to adding jobs to the economy, to further develop our training systems, building more apprenticeship spots for apprenticeship programs and our pre-apprenticeship programs to help bring more people into the unionized construction industry. So we appreciate those opportunities as well, and also are really encouraged that the BayoTech is also again voluntarily negotiating a community benefits agreement with the community as well. We believe compositely this represents a lot of really positive actions from the company to demonstrate some good responsibility that we look forward to continuing to partner with them, putting local folks to work and building this project as safely and as timely as possible. So thank you all for everything that you do and for your time tonight.
Hi there. My name is Michael Mark. I'm the Financial Secretary Treasurer of the San Joaquin Building Trades. Again, I want to make sure that we are expressing our support for the specific project because there is this within the MND. I just want to make sure it's very clear because of the developer being able to commit to hiring a local workforce that will actually reduce the air pollutions that is going to be emitted for the specific project. So when we're speaking on the specific documents of today, having that local hire component of actually putting Stocktonians to work on a local Stockton project. And I will make sure that Port of Stockton's always been a very big supporter of trying to create the local jobs for their own workforce, along with any other lease components. So I know I was interrupted there for a second, but I will say this is that local hire component really means a lot for the local community. The residents behind me, which is, I want to count about 16, 20 individuals. We live here in Stockton. We support this project. Having people work locally, benefiting the community, all the economic development for local workers really makes a true community. And a lot of times these documents don't actually necessarily uplift those components. So again, we support this project. Thank you.
Thank you. And if there's folks who want to have a seat, you're welcome to come up here to the table. Any of these seats are available. For those on the phone, I think the order we were gonna just try to do the virtual or the in-person comments and then switch to virtual, but if there's a lot, we'll probably alternate. So anyone else? Yes.
Hi, I'm Georgina Halofia. I'm a resident of Stockton and an electrician by trade here on behalf of the electrical workers with IBEW Local 595. We have a training center here in Stockton, and it's projects like this that with BayoTech partnering with the building trades or a PLA. Most people know it's a project labor agreement. I like to explain it using the same acronym, but using some key components of a project labor agreement. P, everybody on the project is going to be making earning a prevailing wage. L, they're going to be using a local workforce, and A, it's going to open up apprenticeship opportunities. You've heard from other folks, but coming with us having a training center here, it's projects like this that offers us the opportunity to open up more apprenticeship spots so that we can continue to train the highest and the best skilled electricians in the world. So thank you. Yes.
We can take the virtual comment. Jan Warren, I believe, has had her hand up for a minute. So Jan, I'm gonna ask you to unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate the presentation. I just wonder if I could get a few things clarified. I saw on the screen that you could submit comments physically to a physical location where Jason is. Didn't look like there were any email comments that could be submitted. Just wanted that clarified. Also, which appendix would have the information on the stormwater management mitigation? And clarify, please, where this offsite storage is. And I assume this transportation fuel for CARB advanced clean cars is the LCFS component because you're furnishing theoretically, less fossil fuel for the heavy duty trucks. Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
as for the email, you could reach Jason Cashin by email at sequa@portofstockton.com. That will go directly to me and for any and all comments you may have.
Or StocktonPort.com.
Did I say it wrong?
Yeah, that's,
Oh.
but I think it'll still work.
Sequa at, okay,
StocktonPort.com.
sorry,
It's
yeah.
on the screen now.
Yes, sorry.
Oh, okay.
And then regarding the appendix for stormwater, I don't know what it is.
It would be in the hydrology and water quality chapter of the ISMND. Is
Okay.
where you'll find that information, not necessarily an appendix for every chapter.
And as far as stormwater, also the port has a development standards plan that each tenant must comply with that outlines specific stormwater controls that must be implemented for each project. And we could also provide you a copy of that DSP if you would like to have a copy of that.
Off-site storage?
The question is, where would the offsite storage?
Not,
That is gonna be outlined in the project description section of the document.
Okay. And the LCLCF?
I think we need offsite storage.
It's not storage. There is no offsite.
there is no offsite storage.
Did you mean of
Oh.
stormwater or did you mean of product?
Oh, I thought they talked about in the presentation. Understand, the transfer from natural gas to the hydrogen and put on these units that go out and deliver it somewhere. I thought I heard them say there's also off-site storage, but maybe I misunderstood.
So
We know-
on-site, excuse me, the on-site, there are 8 storage pods.
Okay, okay, gotcha. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one more. Davis, I'm gonna ask you to unmute yourself.
Hi, all. Thanks. My name is Davis Harper, and I'm the carbon program manager with Restore the Delta. Phoning in today. Sorry, I'd like to be there in person, but I had to call in. I wanted to offer some kind of initial comments to basically state that we're excited that there's a lot of buzz and interest around new energy economies at the Port of Stockton, including looking at hydrogen. We definitely applaud the Port of Stockton's exploration of hydrogen to fuel stationary and mobile fuel cells powered applications. We're going to be reducing, for example, like diesel backup generators or diesel trucking. I think there are a lot of good nuanced applications for hydrogen as a zero emissions fuel source to reduce pollution sources. We're also happy to see that the new language in the updated IS-M&D confirming the port's requirement of BayoTech to develop and implement a community benefits agreement with local community groups. And finally, we're also happy that BayoTech did reach up to building trades and has negotiated a project labor agreement. We think that's fantastic, and we want to support workers. We want to support new industries. However, even with some of the updates to the ISM&D, we really think that a full environmental impact report is needed for this project, particularly because this would be the first hydrogen project of the Port of Stockton. And it's super important to us to get this right, to make sure that some of the, I would say, greenhouse gas and criteria air pollutant accounting methodologies are further elaborated on, because we take some issue with particularly the use of book and claim credits through LCFS. And we think that there are locally beneficial mitigation measures that can be done that can increase job opportunities as well. I think those are some missed opportunities. We also see some missing accounting of hydrogen leakage. Again, appreciate that hydrogen leakage at the facility was included in this last updated study, but we think that the downstream leakage impacts need to be understood as well. Additionally, the global warming potential for the study only looks at a 100-year lifespan and is lower than what the latest science suggests. So, and then finally, I think for us, probably the big one is that regardless of how hydrogen is produced, the end uses are really not clearly documented. And we think that the port can play a role to exercise a bit more scrutiny in verifying what the end uses are, because the associated emissions of greenhouse gas emissions and criteria air pollutants could really vary significantly. The CO2 avoidance potential of replacing diesel equipment with hydrogen in the study, it doesn't really appear to account for transport emissions or downstream leakage. And that's, yeah, so I think that, right, we don't know how far necessarily it's traveling. We have a range going as far as 200 to 300 miles. And I guess we would just ask why, when we don't have any hydrogen at the port yet, but we have all of these potential zero emission strategies that could use hydrogen, we don't have a clear picture of the demand and potential offtake agreements that keep the hydrogen produced local and actually have local air quality benefits at the port itself. Because we think that's a good application of a hydrogen end use, and also another job creator. So yeah, I'll stop there. I think I just want to say again, we really appreciate that the port's looking into alternative energy industries to reduce local air pollution impacts, create quality jobs, position the port as a global leader on new climate innovations, and we really hope that our concerns with the GHGs and air criteria pollutants on this project can be addressed and standardized as a best practice for future hydrogen production at the port. So thank you for your time.
Thanks, Davis.
Thanks, Davis. Are there other comments or questions in the room?
Some questions. I had a question about the pipeline. The pipelines, and I had asked BayoTech, if they could explain to me the schematics, to really understand the pipelines, because the information that I obtained through public information request regarding the infrastructure only included the west complex. And so while you don't plan on making any infrastructure improvements, I think a characterization of the most recent evaluation of the east side for infrastructure is important, and I plan on staying to get those questions answered. Develop local emergency response plans with point of contact information, muster locations for environmental events. I'm not quite sure what that means. I hear, thank you for clarifying that PG&E supply wasn't going to be under pressure, but that there was a pressure component. Oh, regarding the significance of the additional energy use, it's not insignificant, and so I think I'd appreciate that you cited the correct information in this response to comments and approved that. I think that you probably did so in the full document that I have not completed reading. And then hydrogen's role in the potential energy landscape. So there's quite a bit of information regarding hydrogen and carb that I think kind of is left out here in regard to the type of carbon or the type of hydrogen, whether it be green, gray, black, and so you made that correction. So mandatory reporting of greenhouse gas emissions. And so when you call these greenhouse gas emissions, and we already heard somebody talking about the mileage that you all are planning on moving these pods, and it's very vague. And, I understand that programmatic documents can be vague, but now this project has been over a year in making, if you want to, get down to that. So I think there should be some more clarity offered for that. Let's see here. Okay. Okay, so yeah, we talk about CEQA requirements. And so when you're talking about CEQA requirements, all supposedly, since not everything has been litigated, one would assume that CEQA requirements would protect the community from environmental hazards. Well, we know that that's not the case because each lead agency is able to make statements of overriding consideration. And when you're making those statements of overriding consideration, you are stating that the project is of more benefit to whomever, whatever, rather than the health and environment of that the community residents are going to encounter. So when you make the claim that CEQA doesn't require, well, okay, maybe CEQA doesn't require, but that doesn't mean that the port doesn't have to require. And, if you want to move in a greener direction, you have to think of CEQA as a bottom, not a high bar, a bottom bar, and a bar that you can easily exceed in your rights as a lead CEQA agency. So, saying, oh, well, CEQA doesn't require that, doesn't really take you all off the hook. Because these impacts are going to be with us long after you and I and everyone in this room are gone. And, climate change is now. And I've spent, the last few weeks with my students going through the evidence. And, we are not acting quickly enough. We are not. And, I look over here at the city of Stockton, and I recall, sitting after getting their EIR, well, can you explain, how climate change is going to be, considered? Well, oh, you here. Well, but really not. Okay, because if we're not using, some very real and clear scenarios, then you can't really say that it's being taken care of. And so again, the point being made here with my minor digression there is that CEQA is a low bar and should not be considered a high bar. We already heard someone speaking about the low carbon fuel standard, which is under review, and that those standard regulations will be out probably in the next 6-7 months. So again, there's no requirement for locally sourced renewable natural gas. So why not make that a requirement? Right? You all have a lot of power when you're making these lease arrangements. And, I was certainly not expecting, this meeting here to be like this, but let me continue to go through some notes here. And I'm sure you already spoke to Fish and Game not being included, their comments not being included already before I got here.
We didn't speak about that, but we have coordinated with CDFW and their comments are being evaluated.
Okay, so for everyone here, the Port of Stockton failed to notice that in a timely manner, the Department of Fish and Wildlife had submitted comments on SequaNet. And while they have spoken and they're going to address those comments in the final ISMND, I think that both the community and the Department of Fish and Game have more than 10 days to review the final ISMND. Since, they were not included in the first round and they did submit comments in a timely manner, and they are a trustee agency. Okay, so I disagree that the project adequately reduces greenhouse gases. Oh. The energy analysis is not required to perform a separate assessment of every component of an operation. Appendix F of CEQA guidelines does not provide or encourage the use of any specific methodology to study energy impacts, but instead leaves the question to how to study energy impacts to the sound discretion of the lead agency. So if you're employing sound discretion, there should be full disclosure and a very clear understanding on what this impact will result in terms of both methane and hydrogen. Again, however, a lead agency has discretion under CEQA to adopt and set thresholds of their choosing. So you make the point that you are able to set thresholds of your choosing. So to continue to allow 10,000 tons of CO2 as a approved baseline, if everybody was going to be producing that, every single project, we are not going to be making the reductions. So in your sound opinion, in your sound discretion, I would ask that you consider full mitigation. Okay, and I also had a question about those stormwater plans, and are you going to be giving them having them go to the regional board to get their own NPDES, or are you going to issue an NPDES under your master stormwater permit?
So the port doesn't have a master permit that covers any tenant operation. The port's master only covers its own operations that we have. And so every tenant must apply for a general industrial stormwater permit and a general construction permit for construction activities. And so they'll be required to at least apply for it. They may be exempt if the state board deems them exempt from that application process, but they will be required to submit for an application.
Okay, and so all of those permit agencies with responsible and trustee agencies should be on your regulatory webpage for this as part of their mitigation monitoring, to make sure, in fact, before they operate at your place, that they are cleared by Central Valley. So, you know, you're taking everybody's word for things. Okay, so that's all I have. So I'll just be waiting around to get some more answers, questioned in the second part of this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments here from folks here tonight or from people joining us virtually? All right then. Well, on behalf, I have support, and I don't know if you guys would like to say anything else. As soon as we wrap up here, we'll stop the recording. But thank you all for joining us virtually and in person tonight. And we appreciate all your input and your feedback.